Welcome to the 2021 On-Farm Network Results Series. I'm Megan Burns, agronomist for the On-Farm Network program. Let's dive into our pea fungicide results from this season. So these trials are designed to assess the agronomic and economic effects of foliar fungicide applications in field peas. And we determine the effect on disease pressure, of course, on yield, and then we have seed quality analysis underway as well. So we're either testing a single application versus no application, or a double application versus a single application, just depending on the year and what each producer is interested in. So we harvested 4 pea fungicide trials this season. We had another 2 that were established, but they were both lost due to the drought conditions. So we'll focus on the 4 trials throughout the province that we were able to harvest this year. So just before we get into results, something that's new in 2021, we decided to use the fungicide decision worksheet for managing Mycosporella blight or Ascochyta in field peas, and to kind of evaluate the effectiveness of this tool by incorporating it into our data collection and what we do in these fungicide trials. So basically we can see the outcome based on the total score of risk factors here for each trial. And then obviously we get our results of the disease ratings that we do post fungicide application in all of our fungicide trials. And then we get to see our yield outcomes, and we can put all of that information together to determine how well this tool is working to predict when and where that fungicide application might be necessary. However, obviously, when evaluating a disease assessment tool, moisture really helps. So we'll have to look at this again, obviously, in future seasons, and it will take several seasons of doing this to really properly evaluate the tool under different disease pressure conditions and growing season conditions in different regions of the province and all those things. But this is something new in 2021 that we added as something else that we can do in the On-Farm Network to evaluate this tool. So before we dive into the results, I just want to give you an idea of what we're working with this year. So these are the 3 types of fungicides that our trials utilize and what diseases are controlled or suppressed by those fungicides. And then when we talk about our rating scale, so when we go out and take our post-spray disease ratings, we're looking for foliar and stem Mycosporella or Ascochyta. Both are rated on a scale of 1 to 7 with increasing disease pressure with the increasing number. So 1 is a healthy plant where we don't have any disease symptoms. And then we're also rating for white mold should it be present, and that's on a 0 to 5 scale as well. So generally speaking with peas, Mycosporella or Ascochyta is the disease of most concern for fungicide application, but we do investigate the white mold situation as well. Okay, so launching into results, our first trial we'll start with is the one that was in the Roland area. And the decision-making worksheet gave us a rating of 25, which falls into the no application recommended category. The site actually had no disease pressure. It was a very clean site, very low disease pressure overall. We didn't find a single plant that had foliar, Mycosporella, or Ascochyta, or white mold, and we rate about 120 plants at each location. So no surprise then that we did not see a significant yield difference with and without fungicide application. And then, of course, we see our change in profit per acre decrease associated with the increased cost of that fungicide application, because we're not getting that return on investment, so to speak, in our yield at the end of the season. So our next trial was in the Dauphin area, and we had a very similar story here. So no application recommended using the worksheet. While we had a bit of a higher incidence of disease here in terms of Mycosporella or Ascochyta pressure, it was at like relatively low severity, right? So that translates to, pretty low to maybe moderate disease overall, but pretty low in terms of severity. And no surprise again that we're not seeing a significant yield difference between our sprayed and unsprayed peas. And of course, we have that same associated decline in profit per acre as a result of not getting a return on that investment in that product. Another trial in the Dauphin area also didn't have an application recommended based on the worksheet. This was another one that had very low, almost non-existent disease pressure overall. The same story without a significant yield difference. We're seeing that loss in profit per acre associated with that product cost. And finally, our trial that was up in the Swan River area, this one was comparing a single versus a double application of fungicide. Again, the worksheet was not recommending an application. We saw a situation where we had, disease was present, but it was present at very low severity overall. So again, we weren't seeing a significant benefit to having that increased fungicide application in this case with the double app compared to single. There was no significant yield difference. And of course, then we don't see the economic return from that increased fungicide management with the double application. So looking across the network at all of our pea fungicide trials to date, we've had 31 of these in total, starting back in 2017. So we're looking at 5 growing seasons here, 31 trials in total. And if we look at how responsiveness breaks down over those trials, we see that 9 times out of 31, we're getting a significant yield increase with some type of fungicide application. And only 5 times out of 31 are we seeing that response be enough to be economic, where that yield increase is at least enough to offset the cost of the fungicide application. So taking a look at how this breaks down in terms of the frequency of responsiveness of field peas to fungicide application across our trials so far, about 70% of the time we're not seeing any significant yield difference with that fungicide application, and only about 16% of the time are we seeing that it's an economic choice. When we have significant response, it's enough yield response to at least cover the cost of that fungicide. However, keep in mind that we started these in 2017, right? So while we do have 5 seasons, generally speaking, 2017 to 2021 have all been relatively dry seasons. So obviously not dry in every case, because we are seeing some responsiveness, some increased disease pressure, et cetera. But generally speaking, they've been a little bit on the drier side. So of course, when it comes to making fungicide decisions, considering those weather conditions alongside field history and disease history of the field, as well as any knowledge from like boots on the ground scouting that can be done in season leading up to fungicide decision making, will be beneficial to make informed fungicide application decisions. When it comes to the future of our pea fungicide trials in the on-farm network, we'll continue to do more of these in more places and more years to investigate how the frequency of response and degree of significant and economic response changes under different growing season conditions. And we'll also continue evaluating that decision-making worksheet as well to see how that's performing under some different conditions and in different regions and different years. So a big thank you to all of our on-farm network participants. If you're interested in learning more, getting involved, or if you have a trial idea, please feel free to contact us at any time. Thank you.